Okay, ready? Okay. Okay, so we're on page 330, chapter 7 and section 4 of Derech HaShem. So what I was thinking about our previous chapter, I think it was somewhat of a revelation, is that what comes out from his description, and maybe, I don't know, once we get to chapter, 9, maybe things are gonna, maybe what I'm saying won't stick together. I wasn't sure. But in any case, the point is that what comes out from his description of Avodas Hashem, right? We're talking about Avodas Hashem, Avodas Bereinu, right? So, I don't know how to say this, but basically he introduced to us that, hey, all commandments of God can be divided into 4 categories, right? Mm-hmm. And the 4 categories were based on time, right? You have constant, you have daily. Now we're going to learn about occasional things, mm-hmm. right? Holidays. And then you have sporadic things, happenstance, right? So, it seemed like a very nice and convenient way to divide the avodah. But the more I thought about it at last week's, especially in last week's chapter, is that it's not just, happens to be we can divide into these 4 sections, but it seems like the essence of avodah, so to speak, is, I don't know how to say this, but let me speak it out this way. We have these, like in the previous chapter, we saw that he introduced it by saying that there are these arches in time, right? Mm-hmm. There are these patterns in time where sometimes the forces of evil get stronger, sometimes they get weaker, right? So these patterns, they're systemic, they're constant, right? They're systemic patterns. So in a certain sense, what's the point? What's the goal of an Oved Hashem? What's the goal of an Oved Hashem? And he keeps repeating, the goal of the Oved Hashem is to bring down the Shefa into this world. Or has to mekadesh this world, to enlighten this world with Hashem's Shefa, right? So how do you do that? Well, you have to be very sensitive, so to speak. You have to be in tune with times, right? I'm sorry. Sometimes the time is ripe, and you have to do the thing, and to bring Hashem during that time. Sometimes the time is less ripe, and you have to do something else, right? So to speak, like lakol zman ve'es lakol chayfetz, right? The Hela says there's a time for everything. In other words, in all of Avodas Hashem kind of boils down to, I don't know, to bring Hashem out in a particular time, right? Daily Avodas Hashem is all about his Shacharis and his Mincha and his Ma'ariv and his after Chatzos, right? It's all about catching the opportune time and imbuing it, or whatever the right word is, right? Mm-hmm. With the right. So I'm saying it's a very different approach to Avodas Hashem. Right? For example, it's very not Hasidic approach to Avodas Hashem. Avodas Hashem says, who cares about time? Time is Olam Hazeh. Mm-hmm. Forget time. Get out of time. Shema, say it at 3 p.m. Mm-hmm. Don't put time and Shema and time. Time is going to be minimizing Avodas Hashem. Again, I'm not saying that Ramchal wants to say that, hey, let's put everything under the Zman. Of course, the worst thing you could do is to make a timeless thing time-bound, right? That's the worst. But, of course, meaning he understands that Avodas Hashem is taking the infinity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and, the other way around, taking the finite world bound by time and imbuing it with godliness and thereby sanctifying it and making it out of time, right? Of course, that's what Ramchal means. But still in all, you could still see the difference between the Hasidic approach to Avodas Hashem, right? Time is, okay, we're forced to live in time, so we, right? While Ramchal's approach to Avodas Hashem is, time is your Avodas Hashem. Be sensitive to time. There's spheres. There's Spheres Haimer is one time. There's your Kufas, your every day is time. This is an hour for that Avodah. It's all about time, right? It's all about being Mekadesh Yisrael v'Azmanim, right? Mekadesh Azmanim. That's the essence of Avodah. Is being Mekadesh the Zman. Yeah. No.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I thought to me that was quite revolutionary. Very different. I would have said time, you know what the main mitzvahs are? Tzitzis. He put it into time. Tzitzis nothing to do with time. Tzitzis says you have clothing. If you have a clothing with 4 corners, put some strings on it. If you eat, thank God. If you see a poor person, go help him out. Yeah, okay, it happens to be that there are some mitzvahs that are connected to time, like Pesach, Sukkot, Shavuos. Okay, you have to daven daily, you have to say Shema. Okay, it happens to be some mitzvahs are time-bound. But what I'm saying, what I'm getting from Ramchal is no. Some mitzvahs happen to be not time-bound. But everything, the entire avodah is all about Mekadesh Hazmanim. It's all about finding Hashem at the right, keeping current to the waves, finding Hashem at the right wave, and making sure that you caught him at the right time, and you were Mekadesh Hazman. A very different approach to avodas Hashem.
It's interesting because what I learned from Tanya is he also has a concept of time. It's not like just say Shema whenever you want. There is a certain, similar to what Baruch was saying, there's a time of specific shepherd, there's a time of when the specific energy comes down. That's the best time to do your avodah, to your Shema.
Right. Right. I mean, I'm not saying that Hasidim are clueless about Zmanim. I'm not talking about only when they coming to weddings. I'm not saying that they're clueless about Zmanim. I'm saying Bnei Yissaschar is the basic text of the calendar, right? Without Bnei Yissaschar, we wouldn't know what Kislev is. What's the difference between Kislev and Elul?
But it seems that the idea of timing, the idea of certain times being more opportune for one thing and less opportune for another thing. The first time of the first half of the night being darker than the other half of the night.
Right.
It's throughout.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that everybody agrees that exists, but what I'm getting from the Ramchal is that is it.
I think he's trying to tell us how to play the system.
I hear you. I mean, could be. I'm not sure. I'm saying different. That's what you're saying. It just happens to be, hey, listen, Soif Kol Soif, there's some time involved. So right now he's speaking about time. And I'm saying, no, he's completely redefining the entire avodah, everything that there is in framework of time. And I'm saying that he looks at the avodah as being Mekadesh Hazman. All of it. Everything. Yeah. Meaning you are an Oved Hashem. What does it mean to be an Oved Hashem? Not listen to Hashem's in an Oved and an understanding, not like, I don't know how to say it, meaning like a chassid. What's the right? How to say it? Meaning there are certain people in the world, right? There's all of us. There's regular people like us. Okay, we do our best listening to Hashem's, commandments, right? Doing the right thing at the right time, so to speak, at the right moment, at the right situation, right? And then there are Ovdei Hashem who basically maintain the entire Bria, right? How did they maintain the entire Bria? We call them sometimes Yodei Chen, right? The knowers of grace, right? Meaning these people are out there of figuring out how to keep this creation going, despite everything that's going on, right? There are certain people who keep up the whole world because they constantly re-energize or reconnect the world to its godly mission, right? So that's what he's not describing. He's not only describing, let's say, every Jew. He's describing the ideal situation. This Oved Hashem that is going to, right? So in that sense, that Oved Hashem is all about. It's all about being Mekadesh Zman. Everything is about being Mekadesh Zman for this Oved, for this God's servant.
To me, if he doesn't, then he's not fulfilling his mission. By bringing...
If he doesn't, the world will be destroyed.
Right, okay. But he will fail at bringing down the involvement of Hashem, the Shefa, and
right.
By just doing it wrong.
Right. Again, but this is a different angle of a different angle of Avodas Hashem. a very different angle. To me, it's a very different. It's like a very different angle of Avodah Hashem. Okay, fine. That's my piece. Let's keep going. Okay, so now we get to Avodas Hazmanis, the occasional Avodah. Okay, so let's see. Ha'avodah Hazmanis hi mashinis chayavnu boy bezmanim yuduin. The occasional Avodah, or the periodic Avodah, is what Rabbi Kaplan tells us. The periodic Avodah is what we are obligated in particular times. Uprotam, and in particular, what do we mean? We mean Shvisas HaShabbos Ukdushosoi, the resting of Shabbos and its holiness. Shvisas HaShabbos Ukdushosoi, right? The resting of Shabbos and its holiness. Interesting. Okay, what does it mean? It means, right? Why didn't he just say Shvisas HaShabbos? What does he mean by Shvisas HaShabbos Ukdushosoi and its holiness? Right. So I'm assuming he means that the Shabbos has two components. There's a negative component, which is Shvisas HaShabbos, right? Constrain, abstain from work, and there's Ukdushosoi, and then sanctify it, make it something extraordinary, do something positive, right? To be Mekadesh it, to lift it out of this world and make it something special, right? Then we have Shvisas Se'osor, the resting of the 10th day of the 7th month, meaning, right, Yom Kippur, V'inuyov, and the affliction, the fasting that comes with it, right? So again, so we have the resting from the Malacha and the resting from physical requirements, physical needs. Then we have Shvisas HaYom Tov, Ukdushosoi, we have resting of Yom Tov and its holiness. Then we have Choyloi Shol Moyed, right? So intermediate days. Then we have HaChometz VeHaMatzah Bizmanim, the requirement to avoid Chometz, and again the positive of Matzah in its time, Shoifer Bizmanim, the time of Shoifer in its time, Sukkah V'Lulav Bizmanim. And then we have Rosh Chodesh, and then we have Chanukah and Purim. Chanukah and Purim. Chanukah and Purim. Why did he do that? Why did he put Chanukah before Purim? I have no idea. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit. Because, right, the list, was in right? There's a gradient of strictness, of holiness levels. Right? Shabbos is the strictest of all the days. Then Yom Kippur is the next strict, right? Then we have Yom Tov, right? Then we have Chol HaMoed. Then he takes a break, seemingly he takes a break from the levels of days to throw in the mitzvahs of the 3 regolim. Right? On those days, there's also these unique commandments: chometz, matzah, shofar, sukkah, lulav. Right? Right? Then he continues back on gradient of days, which is Rosh Chodesh, which is one level, and then Chanukah and Purim. I would have said that they're on the same level. Not Chanukah is somehow higher than Purim. Chanukah and Purim is on the same rabbinic holidays. So, which one should come first? Chanukah and Purim.
It isn't Shavuos here.
Shavuos is included in Yom Tov. Yom Tov, yeah.
Yeah, it goes on calendar order.
What?
In the calendar order.
So you would say then he goes in calendar order, probably, right? But why go in calendar order? Why would you go in calendar order?
Because Nisan, beginning of time, is the first time.
You see, if you go the entire way of calendar order, right? So in other words, let's say you throw, right? He didn't put Pesach before Yom Kippur, right? Yom Kippur comes before Pesach because Yom Kippur is a higher level. So you're not, meaning to me personally, I don't know, meaning to me, if you are not going by calendar, you're going in levels of some other level, so then Purim should go before Chanukah because chronologically Purim is before Chanukah, right? So so I mean, I always bring out this comparison. And in the Rambam, Hilchas Chanukah, Hilchas Purim come before Hilchas Chanukah, while in the Shulchan Aruch, Hilchas Chanukah comes before Hilchas Purim, right? Because Shulchan Aruch always goes by calendar, right? Even in Hilchas Shabbos, the way Shulchan Aruch presents the laws of Shabbos is first it tells you about the laws of Erev Shabbos, and then it tells you about the laws of Friday night, and then Shulchan Aruch tells you about the laws of Shabbos day, and then Havdalah, and so on, right? So the Shulchan Aruch is very much chronological exposition. Seemingly, Rabbi Yehuda Nossi in Mishnayos, in the Masechta of Shabbos is also presented that way, in a chronological order, and but the Rambam not. The Rambam is goes by themes in thematic way.
Yeah.
So in themes, when you're talking about themes, when you're not talking about some chronological order in your life, you're talking about the way it happened in the world. The way it happened in the world, Purim should come before Rosh Chanukah because Purim is earlier.
No, you go by theme. Because Shabbos, Yom Kippur, which is Shabbos or Shabbosim, the same theme, and then it continue.
Possibly.
And the law is making
Possibly, because that makes sense because you see Chometz is before Shofar and Shofar is before Sukkah and Lulav. In that sense, yes, there is that chronological order of the calendar, right? But otherwise, I'm just thinking halachically if there are any differences versus Chanukah and Purim.
Let's say Yom HaKippurim, we make a really stronger deal out of Purim than we do of Hanukkah.
I mean, that's more like a Purim,
Inspirational.
But halachically, on Hanukkah we do say the full Hallel, so maybe I don't know. Okay, anyway, but it's interesting just to point out. The bottom line is Hanukkah over here comes before Purim. Okay, so now let's go explain each one individually. So, Inyan HaShabbos, Bichlale. So what's the general pshat? What's Shabbos all about? So before we see what Ramchal has to say, let's think about it ourselves. Come on, we know Shabbos. We don't need Ramchal to tell us what Shabbos is about. What's Shabbos about? What's Shabbos about?
Follow what the Creator said.
So, well, okay, that's not good. That's not going to be good enough because Tefillin is also about that. So what's Shabbos about? It's more than following what the Creator said. It's following what the Creator did.
Yeah.
Right? It's a little strong higher up on the hierarchy. Right? It's not only what Hashem told us to do, it's also what He did.
Himself.
So therefore what? So He did it, so why do we have to do it? Right? So the answer is that it's a testimony, right? By us keeping Shabbos, we are testifying that Hashem created the world. Yes?
Yes.
Right? Correct? Anything else? What would you say? You are the author of the basic guide to Judaism. What do you say about Shabbos?
Just take a break and think about it.
Right? God wanted you to have a day off to think about why you have a day on. Right? Correct? Okay, sounds good. Beautiful. Okay, let's see what Rabbi Ramchal has to say. Okay. Inyan HaShabbos B'chlale. The general idea of Shabbos hu ki hinei kvar bi'arnu l'mayla. We already explained to you above she'inyan ha'olam hazeh, that the concept of this world, noising, presents to us is or has to have she'iyu advorim boichol v'loy kodesh, that things in this world have to be mundane. This world, by its very nature, means that things in it have to be mundane. Amnam, however, hutzrach gam kain. However, it also necessitates shemitzad acher, from another perspective, tzas kiddush lebruim, that it has to be some kind of a sanctification for the creations. Kedei shelo yigbar bom hachoshech yoser medai, so that the darkness should not overwhelm the creations. Okay? So there has to be, Hashem created a physical world, which is mundane, but there has to be, so to speak, a spark of holiness that keeps the world in balance, so that the darkness does not overpower it. Vihine, shira chochma ha'elyoina, so therefore the great wisdom measured out, as kol zeh, betachlis hadiktuk, measured out in great precision. Be'eze madrega tzarech sheyeh achoil, to what level there has to be of mundaneness, ube'eze madrega kiddush anoisaf hazeh, and to what level there has to be an additional kiddush, the additional sanctification. V'higbila lekol zeh gvulim hanoisim, and God gave boundaries, bounded all of these in proper boundaries. Bebechinas hakamus v'ha'eichus, boundaries in quantity and quality. Hamokim v'azman, place and time. V'kol havchonis sheyesh livchan b'nimtzois, and every differentiations that could be differentiated in creation. Say what? Okay, so was that the way you were going to introduce Shabbos?
More or less.
Okay, but let's see. This is okay. This is an introduction. Meaning, he's not talking about necessarily. He's not saying necessarily about Shabbos now. He's saying that the bottom line is saying that the world is created physical, but there has to be elements of kedusha to keep things balanced out, and everything has to be precise. Right? He's not talking about time. He's talking about things, right? He says over here, some places and time, right? Quality and quantity, right? We're not talking about, but okay, obviously the next paragraph says, okay, v'ulam bebechinas azman, however, in the concept of time, sidra inyan hayomim shel chol v'shel kodesh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu organized days that are chol, that are mundane, and days that are kodesh. B'mei hakodesh atzmam madrega zulamayla mezu k'fi hanois. In the days of that are holy, there are also madregas. Some are higher than others. V'hine sidra shirei v'yom miyachol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed that most days should be mundane. V'lo yeh kodesh ela hashir hamitztarech, and only the necessary measurement of days should be holy days. Okay, so how many holy days do we have a year? How many holy days do we have a year? Let's do a little bit of like a rough accounting. Rough accounting. We had 52, 54, I don't know many. What is it? 365 divided by 7. What do we get? What? 52. Yeah, sounds like 52. Okay, so 52 Shabbos. What else? Then we have 12, no, not 12. We have 18, about 18 Rosh Chodeshes, right?
That's 70.
Now we get to 70. Then we have, let's leave Chanukah and Purim out of it for a bit. Then we have Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Let's count Rosh Hashanah 2 days. Although I'm not sure, but let's say Rosh Hashanah 2 days. Yom Kippur 3 days. Sukkah's first and Simchas Torah, that's 5 days. Right? Anything else? Then that gets us all the way back to Pesach, 1 and 2, that's 2 more days. And then Shavuos. That's it.
8 in total.
8? Is there anything else? I'm missing anything? So it gets us 78, roughly 78 days out of 365 days. Right? Correct? So what is that in terms of ratio? What percentage? 1/5?
So.
Yeah, roughly 1/5, so 20%. A little less than, whatever, a little more than 1/5, 1.46. Okay, yeah. So that's the golden ratio between Chol and Kodesh. That's the golden ratio between Chol and Kodesh. again, is it a different approach? Is it a different perspective of presentation? I think so, to some degree. Again, I think it fits well with this idea. This idea of following the time. Okay.
The ratio is approximately how many people left Mitzrayim versus how many left. Right? It works out the same. 20% left. 80%
Interesting. Very interesting. That's a good, interesting analogy. So, I mean, it's hard to know. I'm saying lots of things could be 1 and 5, but it's an interesting. Okay. All right. Moving on. V'ulam gozra shiyah hayomim kulam misgalgelim v'shiur misper echad. So v'ulam again gozra shiyah hayomim kulam misgalgelim. I don't know how to translate that, but misgalgel means that they rotate. That there has to be a rotation of days. B'shiur mispar echad, in some kind of a measurement of one measure, some kind of a measurement. I don't know what he wants to say with that sentence. She is soiviv bizman kuloi besibuv, that they all rotate in a rotation. Again, it's a repetition. V'hu mispar hashiva hayomim, and that is the 7 days. So so he wants to say that there has to be the first section, the first set of days are the most regular rotation days, right? There's a rotation of days. There's a rotation of days. Unlike all the other holidays are not a rotation of days. They are at a specific day, right? See the difference?
Right, yeah, right.
Right? Meaning, I'll meet with you every 2 days for a meeting, or I'll meet with you when that star hits this particular location, right? That's a very different approach, right? So there's one is a rotation, one is a pattern, and the other one is a, I don't know how to say it.
Set.
What?
Set time.
Right, is a set time, right? Okay, so that's what makes Shabbos very different from all the other days. That it's a rotating day. V'kihine bom nivra hamitzius kuloi. I'm sorry. That's the 7-day cycle. V'zen, that is because kihine bom, because during the 7 days nivra hamitzius kuloi was the entire creation was created. Nichlo kol hava yosoi b'mispar zeh, and the entire creation is included in this number. V'nimtza mispar zeh, and it comes out that this number, meaning number 7, mashiroi shikori shiru sholim, this number 7 represents a completion, a completed cycle, right? Number 7 somehow represents a set, right? It represents a set, a complete set. Mm-hmm. Okay, why does it represent a complete set? Because that's the set that was used in the creation. So it must be that pattern, is permeate, is all over the creation, because it was, something that originally is built into the DNA is going to continue, right? Continue going. Since everything is necessary. I can read this. Again, English says, for this cycle contains everything necessary for creation as a whole. I don't know. Again, I understand. I don't understand. Okay. And more than that is not necessary. Because the entire creation is complete. Yeah, he's just repeating the same words, but I don't really understand what he's saying. At least, meaning, it sounds like he knows why number 7 represents all of creation. I don't know. Do you know why number 7 represents all of creation? Do you know why number 7 represents all of creation? Okay, it's a nice number, but if you would have told me number 5 represents all of creation, I could have said number 5 also works. If you would have said number 15, okay, number 15, I understand that Hashem created the world in 7 days, but he also could have created it in 8 days, right? What? Right, but I'm just saying, clearly the Ramchal, I'm assuming the Ramchal has the idea of the 7 spheres somewhere in the back of his head, right? And he understands what they are, and which we don't. And so he understands why number 7 of these, using these 7 spheres, represents a totality of creation, right? So he understands why these are the 7, and there has to be only these 7. And he understands why they are all over the place, right? Otherwise, because if you take away that concept, and you're just using some plain numerology, number theory, 7 is no more remarkable than 8 or 9 or or 13 or whatever, right? No,
right.
Okay. So amnam iya mispar zeh misgalgal v'hoylech, right? If you just a reminder that the French Revolutionary government wanted to do away with number 7, right? So I don't know if you're aware of this, but during the French Revolution, they decided number 7 makes no sense. Number 7 is just a random number, right? So they decided to create a 10-day week. Right, so they had each month be 30 days, and each month had 3 weeks, and each week had 10 days, right? And the purpose of that is quite simple, because they wanted to do away with religion, and they wanted to seven days. Okay, didn't work, but okay. Now this number will continue as a pattern until the end of the 6,000 years that the creation is supposed to exist. And not only that, not only that there is a concept of a week, but the days of the entire creation also yishmeru hashir hazeh b'kamos hagodol. In the macro, so to speak, in the macrocosm of creation, there's also number 7. Meaning, v'hainu, that is, the Sheishes Elofim ve'elef Menucha, there will be 6,000 years of the universe and 1,000 years of rest. Right? Familiar with this this concept, right? V'achar kach tischadesh havaya l'metzius b'seder acher, and then after the 7,000 years, 6,000 of creation, 1,000 of rest, there will be a renewal of the entire existence, as decreed by the great wisdom, by the lofty wisdom. And Hashem decreed that the end of the cycle should be holy. Right? Meaning it's a 7-day cycle. So the end of the cycle is the 7th day. So Hashem made the last day of the cycle holy. As opposed to, let's say, Rosh Chodesh, which is going to talk about where the first day of the cycle is holy. Right? Why is Rosh Chodesh the first is holy, but Shabbos is the last day is holy? Why isn't there consistency of pattern? Make the last day of the month holy, not the first day of the month. Right? Okay, so we'll leave that. I mean, there are answers to this. I mean, the simple answer is, if there is no difference between, if you have 30 days, 30 of something, I give you 30 chocolates. So, but one of them you want to make special. You're only going to make one of them special. Each one is not special in any way, but one of them has to be special because you want to dedicate one. So which one are you going to dedicate? So you always dedicate the first. The first is always the best. Okay? Even though, again, there's some studies in psychology and say that, when you tell people, you give people chocolates, and they're tasting chocolates, and you say, okay, this is the last one we're going to taste for tonight, and then a week later you're going to come back and ask them, so which one was the best chocolate? Generally, people mention the last one. Okay? So whatever, various explanations given. But the point is, but in logic, forget human psychology, but in logic, if you have 30 of the same things and you want to dedicate one, you always dedicate the first one. And we see that's Bikurim, right? First fruit. Everything that we dedicate to Hashem is always the first. The first one, first of everything, we dedicate to Hashem, right? Mashenkin on Shabbos is not like 7 days. They're not 7. Just happens to be. Hey, it's a cycle of 7 days. No, the 7th day represents something. The 7th day is unique. It's a build up to the Shabbos, so to speak. So if it's a build up to the Shabbos, okay. So of course you're going to dedicate the Shabbos. It just happens to be that Meaning, you know what I'm saying? The Rosh Chodesh in its essence is not really different than any other day. So you want to dedicate one, you'll dedicate the first. But Shabbos is a pattern towards Shabbos, so then Shabbos is going to be important. Okay. Anyway, so so they were mechaven that the end of this cycle should always be kodesh. And as a result, since the last of the cycles is the holy one, that's going to elevate all of the days. That even though the majority of them are choil, and only 1/7 is holy, which is really, it's the 6 days that are important on one sense. For the Olam Hazeh creation, you need 6 unholy days. If anything, you should have 7 unholy days, because it's time for work. It's not time to rest. It's time for your avodah, time to do to Odom Olam Yulad, right? You got to do work. But you need some kodesh in order to balance out. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in the work, right? So then let's do 50-50. Let's have 50 choil, 50 kodesh, right? Why are we doing 1/7 kodesh? So the answer is, once you put the 7th holy day at the end of the week, and your entire week you're looking forward to that 7th day, and you're planning for that 7th day, and you're preparing for that 7th day, so that injects an element of kedusha into every single one of the 6 days. So then it balances out, maybe not in quantity, it balances things out in quality. So where was I? Since the holy part is the end of the cycle, and its chitum, its seal, nimtza asibuv kuloi niskan, as a result the entire cycle is rectified, umisala, and elevated alidezeh, as a result of this, kol yimois ha'odom miskachim, until it comes out that all the days of a person are sanctified. Okay? So, v'hinei zomatana gedoyla shnosna kodesh baruch hu Yisrael, this is a great gift that Hashem gave to Klal Yisrael, liyashirotza sheyuloi am kodesh, because He wanted that they should be the holy nation. V'lo nosna l'shar ha'umois, but He did not give it to the other nations, Klal, at all. She'eina ma'ala zo Yisruya v'lo miyuda lohem, because this level is not kind of not fitting or intended for them. Okay. Again, so let's see. Let's just discuss at this point, I guess. Let's say at this point, is this how you would have introduced Shabbos? You know, that the general idea of Shabbos is injection of kedusha into creation. Is that how you? I mean, that's along the lines maybe of what you were saying, right? Stop and think, correct?
It sounds like to look forward to. It's opposite. Like whole week, it's something you're looking forward to.
Right.
This is like your goal. That's the point of Shabbos. That's where you're going. You start on Sunday, and that's where you're going.
Right. So I think the reason why the reason why he's introducing Shabbos this way is because when we started giving suggestions for Shabbos, we are giving already kind of after the Torah, so to speak. The Torah says God rested, and we want to rest. We want to, right? But God didn't have to rest. Right? So the question that he's not only answering why we keep Shabbos, he's answering kind of why does Shabbos exist as an element of the plan? Meaning, God could have avoided Shabbos. He didn't have to put Shabbos into the creation, right? The question is, why is it part of this design, right? He rested in order to create Shabbos, right? So he designed the creation with the Shabbos built into it. So the question is, why is Shabbos built into the creation? That's the question that he's answering. And he's telling us that God needed to create a balance of kodesh and chol in order to elevate you out of your choliness with your holiness, right? So he's kind of starting from a step earlier than we were answering, right? Is that right? Agreed? Disagreed?
Not sure.
Not sure.
I'm
Okay.
sleeping.
You're sleeping. Okay, moving on. So, 1 second. Let me just think for a second. So if he's starting from a place earlier, from earlier, right? He's asking a question: is why is there Shabbos is built into the creation, right? So then he ends off the section as and you know who gets this special thing called Shabbos? Jews. Why? If you're telling me that it's such an essential part of the fabric of creation that there has to be an element of kedusha, so why is it right? So it should have been there. Shouldn't it have been there from the beginning of time? Meaning, shouldn't everybody have kept Shabbos from the very beginning of time? Why is it that we only wait till Yetzias Mitzrayim to get Shabbos, and only for the chosen nation, for the holy nation?
But the Chodil Kedusha.
Right?
Chodil Kedusha. In the beginning, Kedusha had a flood. We had as then 10 generations between Noah and Kilam. There's no Kedusha. The Kedusha was missing. Once Abraham recognized something.
Right. I mean, I would say similarly, just slightly different. I would say that also, just like, so to speak, there are 6 days first that are choil, that are mundane. So too in the creation, so to speak, there was some kind of a time period where things went in a very mundane way, and then they start building up. I'm not sure.
Because it's even just for Jewish people, not for everybody. It has to be somebody to give it to.
Right, but I don't know. I'm not satisfied. Because we see that there is a more intimate connection, right? Medrash says that Shabbos was lonely, right? It was every day had a partner. Shabbos didn't have a partner. Hashem said, "Okay, I'll give you the partner, the Jewish nation." Right? Okay, it's a cute medrash, but there's something more, right? And again, so could be meaning I understand the map fits. What I mean by that is just like Shabbos is 1/7 of the time period. So the Jews represent some kind of a minority of kedusha in the time period, and they by being that minority kedusha, they're supposed to sanctify the rest of the world, right? Be or lagoyim, as we say, to be the light unto the nations, right? Correct.
Yeah.
So there's that counterpart, right? We are the Shabbos, so to speak. We are that element of kedusha that keeps the world in balance. Okay, fine. Let's do. Okay, let's do one more paragraph because this one should be more accessible. Let's see. Now, in parallel to this level that Jews reach on this day, so too the actions or the behavior of that day should be appropriate for the day. Now, involvement in the physical world is the thing that connects the world to physicality. Umashpil inyanoi, and lowers his status. Umerida min hamayla, lowers him from the loftiness, v'hayokar, and the another word for loftiness, shehoya roiloi, that is appropriate for him. Umizet tzarich sheyinutak b'Shabbos. So therefore, it's necessary that on Shabbos you got to disconnect. Kiven shemisal inyonim mashihu b'chol, because he's on a higher madrega than he is on a chol, on a regular day. So therefore, he has to hold himself, right, and carry himself in a manner that's fitting for this level, for this elevation, right?
Meaning once he's on the level to really be in Shabbos, he has to maintain.
Right, otherwise, I mean, I would have said otherwise there's no purpose. So, okay, this paragraph needs a little bit of thought. Meaning, you would have said, I would have said, you know what makes Shabbos kodesh? The day in itself is just like any other day. It's the way I conduct myself on that day that really makes it kodesh, right? Let's say if I work and I don't do anything unusual on Shabbos day, then there's no Shabbos day. Clearly, he doesn't see it that way. Clearly, again, right. Clearly, Shabbos comes in, Shkia comes in. There's something, right? There's a different atmosphere, right? There's a different air. There's a different chemistry. There's a different something. And now that there is different chemistry, you got to behave in accordance with that chemistry. You got to, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what is it in the nature of Shabbos? Yeah, I understand we're religious people. We've learned that Shabbos is a special day, and Heilige Shabbos and Shabbos Queen, and I understand that that's religion, that's faith. I say I do nothing. I sit there on Shabbos, I do nothing. I'm just looking around. Where do I see the Kedusha? Where do I notice it? I only notice it because my behavior is different. My house looks different. My actions are different. Where is it? Is it somewhere else? Where can I see this?
No, you just feel it. You have a whole bunch of problems for 6 days. 7 days, you have nothing to do about it. You just don't worry about those stuff.
Right. But that's because you decided to act a certain way.
No, it just somehow just once you realize, okay, this is Shabbos. I don't have to worry about it. It's because you don't have to worry about it. Then you're free to do other stuff. You don't have to show, you don't have to learn. I cannot do other stuff. Now I'm free to do whatever
I don't know,
want
but
to.
see, I don't see how you're answering my question. You're asking my question stronger. Because I am free to do whatever I want, therefore my day is elevated. Over here it's the other way around. Because my day is elevated, I don't have to do other stuff. Again, I understand that we are religious people, and we understand that there is neshama yisera, and there's kedushas hashabbos, and there's all these things. But what's the trigger for those things? Yaakov could have said the trigger is you behave Shabbosdik, you imbibe kedusha into the Shabbos, you kedusha into the Shabbos. What he's saying is not that way. What he's saying is the Shabbos, right? It has kedusha in it, whatever that is, has kedusha in it. The cycle of seventh day create a seventh day kedusha, and then because that kedusha is so tangible, you have to act in accordance with that kedusha. That's what he's saying, right? Again, I understand we're so used to thinking that way. It doesn't seem mechudesh there, but it is. It's very much mechudesh there. Okay. All right, moving on. Last few lines. Okay. However, to detach yourself from the physicality and its involvement completely, that's not possible. At the end of the day, even Shabbos is still part of this world. And my bonds of physicality are still all over me. But the HaKadosh Baruch Hu measured out exactly how much detachment from the physical world you can have on Shabbos, and how much of a madrega you're supposed to maintain. tzivso lo yinosek. So whatever Hashem told you to detach yourself from cooking and cleaning and lighting fires and all these things v'yizhira, and warned you, shelo yechtel melih ha'nosek. Another thing, the Torah said not to separate. What? V'yizhira shelo yechtel. I'm sorry. V'yizhira shelo yechtel melih ha'nosek. And the Torah warned you not to miss the opportunity to disconnect. V'zeh klal hamalachos kulon sheneasru b'Shabbos. And that's the idea of all the different malachos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us as commandments, that is the precise measure of disconnectivity that we're supposed to achieve on Shabbos through the malachos. What about eating and drinking, and where is that disconnection? That seems to be very much connection. Stuff your face and lie on the couch, and what's mamish holiness.
You did it once a week. I mean, yeah, you appreciate it.
So, okay, that would have to explain. That would have to explain on the next. Okay, to be continued. So let's just summarize what we learned today. That basically it told us that he asked the question, why is it that by design there are certain days that are different than other days? And he told us the first thing is that there's a repetitive cycle, a 7-day cycle, because that's the cycle of the creation. And that cycle of creation gives us the last day of that cycle is holy. And as a result of everything leading up to that cycle, the rest of the cycle, the rest of the 6 days are elevated as well. Mm-hmm. And that allows us to maintain a balance between Gashmias and Ruchnias. The fact that we have some days that are holy reminds us not to sink completely into the Gashmias. Okay.